The first thing Frederick Palmer noticed when he woke up was that he was not in his backyard anymore. The last thing he remembered was leaning back in a lawn chair, sipping a warm beer and swatting at a mosquito. Now he was lying on a cold, metallic surface under a harsh, buzzing light. He sat up, wincing. His joints ached like he had been crammed into a box and shaken around. Around him, the room stretched out in odd angles, almost like a diamond turned inside out. Walls shimmered with a pearly glaze. Directly ahead, a creature no taller than Frederick's waist stood with what looked like a clipboard, tapping its long, three-fingered hand impatiently. "Where am I?" Frederick croaked, his voice rough. The creature tilted its head, emitted a quick series of chirps, and then a mechanical voice from the ceiling translated, "Subject awake. Commence health verification." Subject? Health verification? Frederick rubbed his temples. "Hey, listen, I don't know who you are, but I got a family barbecue tomorrow. You should probably beam me back down or whatever before my wife thinks I ran off to Vegas." The alien tapped again, a soft whirring sound filling the room. Suddenly a mist sprayed over Frederick. It smelled faintly of mint and motor oil. "What the hell?" Frederick coughed, waving his hands. The alien flinched, dropping its clipboard. Sirens blared from hidden speakers as two larger creatures burst through a sliding panel, both wielding devices that hummed ominously. "Whoa, whoa, whoa." Frederick raised his hands. "I'm not dangerous. I'm just a guy from Indiana." One of the larger aliens pointed its device at Frederick. A blue light scanned up and down his body. A third alien, tall and thin like a lamp post, entered, wearing a shimmering silver robe. It observed Frederick with a critical stare. Frederick felt a tickle in his nose. He pinched it, trying to hold back, but it was no use. He sneezed violently, the sound echoing off the strange walls. The aliens jumped back like he had thrown a grenade. "It's just a cold," Frederick said quickly, wiping his nose with the back of his hand. "Nothing serious. Happens all the time back home." The lamp-post alien barked something sharp and urgent. A glass dome dropped from the ceiling, slamming around Frederick with a heavy thunk. He stumbled back, palms pressed against the smooth surface. "All right, this is a little much," he said, but his voice was muffled. Outside the dome, the aliens scrambled. The one in the silver robe barked orders, and the others pulled out devices, scanning the air around Frederick. Panels unfolded from the walls, revealing more machinery. The mechanical voice returned. "Subject contaminated. Immediate quarantine protocol enacted." Frederick banged on the dome. "Contaminated? It's a cold. I'm not dying. I just need a nap and some chicken soup." No one listened. The floor beneath the dome shifted, and suddenly Frederick was moving slowly, sliding through a hidden passageway. He gritted his teeth as the dome jostled and jerked, carrying him deeper into the ship. After several turns and a brief descent that made his ears pop, the dome settled into a large, sterile room. It was filled with other domes, each containing various beings from different worlds. A thin mist hung in the air. "Great," Frederick muttered. "Intergalactic quarantine. Just my luck." Minutes blurred into hours. Frederick paced within his dome, occasionally sneezing, coughing, and growing increasingly frustrated. He tried to communicate by tapping Morse code against the glass, but no one responded. Eventually, the silver-robed alien returned, flanked by two others carrying a box full of medical instruments. The voice crackled again. "Subject Palmer, Frederick. State all symptoms." Frederick crossed his arms. "Sneezing, coughing, maybe a little headache. That's it. No tentacles popping out. No alien parasites. Just a cold." The aliens conferred, clicking their tongues in a rapid exchange. Suddenly, a small opening appeared in the side of the dome, just big enough for a tray to slide through. On it sat a cup of steaming liquid and a tablet device. Frederick eyed the cup warily. "What's this? Space medicine?" "Hydration stimulant," the voice said. Frederick sniffed the cup. Smelled like lemon and something sharp like battery acid. Still, his throat was dry. He took a cautious sip. It tingled all the way down, but not unpleasantly. He picked up the tablet. It flickered to life, displaying a series of images, animated diagrams of a human body sneezing, tiny particles shooting out like missiles, infecting cartoonish alien figures who promptly keeled over. Frederick groaned. "You guys seriously think a cold is going to wipe out your ship?" The voice answered, "Historical records indicate human pathogens have previously decimated native populations." Frederick opened his mouth to argue, then thought better of it. He remembered history class. Smallpox blankets. Entire civilizations undone by invisible invaders. Fair point, he admitted. The next few hours were a blur of tests. A mechanical arm reached in through the dome and swabbed his throat. Another device pricked his finger, drawing a small vial of blood. Frederick winced but bore it. No point fighting it. The silver-robed alien watched the results stream across a screen. It looked more concerned with each passing second. The voice returned. "Subject Palmer. Your ailment is classified as low risk to human health but potentially catastrophic to non-human physiology. Quarantine must continue." Frederick sat down heavily. His shoulders sagged. "How long?" "Until full pathogen neutralization. Estimated duration. 7 standard Earth days." 7 days. Frederick rubbed his face. "I can't stay locked in a fishbowl for a week. I got a job. A family." The alien stared at him, unmoved. Frederick sighed. "Fine, but at least give me a blanket or something. It's freezing in here." The panel opened again, sliding in a thin metallic blanket that crinkled when he pulled it around himself. Better than nothing. Days passed in a strange rhythm. Frederick slept, sneezed, drank the weird lemon drink, and watched the aliens poke and prod at the air around his dome. Once, they even brought in a small robot that sprayed the outside of the dome with a shimmering mist. On the 3rd day, Frederick woke to find 2 aliens arguing fiercely. Their gestures were wild, and the translator picked up snippets. Unprecedented contamination risk. Potential data loss unacceptable. Suggest accelerated adaptation protocol. Frederick sat up, rubbing his eyes. "Hey, if you're arguing about me, maybe let me have a say?" The silver-robed alien turned abruptly. "Accelerated adaptation involves genetic recalibration for pathogen resistance." Frederick frowned. "Genetic recalibration? That sounds like something that belongs in a sci-fi movie, not real life." "It is the only method to resume facility operations." Frederick hesitated. His gut twisted. What's the alternative? Continued quarantine. Indefinite. He chewed his lip, thinking. What happens if the recalibration goes wrong? The alien was silent. "Yeah, thought so," Frederick muttered. Still, the idea of sitting in a dome forever wasn't appealing either. After a long pause, he said, "If it's the only way, I guess I don't have a choice." Preparations began immediately. A new machine was wheeled in sleek, humming quietly. Frederick was instructed to lie down on a padded slab. He felt a prick in his arm, and a warm sensation spread through his veins. The process was surprisingly painless. He drifted off to sleep under the machine's soft hum. When he woke, the silver-robed alien was standing over him. Procedure complete. Pathogen neutralized internally. Frederick sat up groggily. "You mean, I'm cured? Your immune system has been calibrated. You are no longer a threat." The dome lifted with a soft hiss. Frederick stumbled forward, legs shaky but working. As he steadied himself, another alien approached with a small device. It beeped merrily when waved over him. "Clear," the voice announced. Frederick smiled weakly. "About time." The silver-robed alien stepped forward, offering a small metallic cube. "A token of gratitude," it said. Frederick turned the cube over in his hands. It shimmered, showing moving images, scenes from the ship, the stars beyond. "Thanks," he said. "But next time, maybe just ask for a blood test before throwing someone in a glass prison." The alien inclined its head. Moments later, a bright beam engulfed Frederick. The last thing he saw before blacking out was the silver-robed alien raising its hand in a curious gesture almost like a wave. Frederick woke up sprawled on his backyard lawn, the stars twinkling overhead. He sat up coughing once. "Just a cold," he muttered to himself, shaking his head. Then he noticed the metallic cube still clutched in his hand, glowing softly. Frederick laughed, the sound drifting into the night. Frederick stared at the metallic cube in his hand, its surface still pulsing with a faint internal light. The grass beneath him was damp, and the scent of earth filled his nostrils. Wind stirred the trees, and somewhere in the distance a dog barked. He rubbed his face, grimacing as he realized his hands were filthy with dirt and what might have been motor oil. He shuffled to his feet, joints aching from the awkward return trip, and trudged toward his house, feeling the strange weight of the cube in his palm. The back door creaked open without resistance. Inside, the house was dark except for the blinking red light of the answering machine on the kitchen counter. He dropped the cube onto the table, where it emitted a soft thud, then filled a glass with water from the tap and downed it in long, desperate gulps. He barely made it to bed before exhaustion dragged him under. When he woke, sunlight was pouring through the window and the familiar buzz of lawnmowers drifted in from outside. His head pounded and his nose was stuffed so badly he had to breathe through his mouth. Groaning, he sat up and swung his legs over the side of the bed. The cube was still on the kitchen table exactly where he had left it. He shuffled over to it, picked it up, and turned it over in his hands. As he did, the cube shifted, clicking softly, and then projected a shimmering hologram of the silver-robed alien. "Subject Palmer," the projection said without any ceremony, "further observation required." "Await extraction." Frederick choked on his own spit. "Extraction?" Again. The projection flickered, then expanded to show a countdown 48 hours. He dragged a hand through his hair. "Fantastic. 2 days to get my affairs in order before getting abducted like a stray cat." The cube responded by ejecting a small, flat disc that landed in Frederick's palm. It vibrated gently, then adhered itself to the skin just below his wrist in a way that was more unsettling than painful. Immediately, a cool sensation spread through his arm, and a faint green light blinked on the disc's surface. Monitoring initiated. The projection added, then disappeared. He spent the next few minutes staring at his wrist, half expecting it to start sprouting wires. When nothing happened, he sat down heavily at the table. The clock on the microwave blinked mockingly at him. 9:47 a.m. Frederick decided he needed coffee before dealing with any of this. As he moved around the kitchen, he noticed that the cube seemed to track his movements, its faint hum adjusting whenever he got farther away. "Yeah, real subtle," he muttered. By noon, he was feeling worse. His throat felt like sandpaper, and his chest rattled when he breathed. He sat on the living room couch, wrapped in a blanket, sipping lukewarm coffee. The doorbell rang. Frederick considered ignoring it, but then thought better of it. He dragged himself to the door and opened it to find a man in a navy blue jumpsuit, holding a clipboard. "Mr. Palmer?" the man asked. Frederick nodded, coughing into his elbow. "Package for you. Need a signature." Frederick squinted at the box the man held. It was plain brown with no markings whatsoever. He signed without asking questions, took the box, and closed the door. Inside, he set the box on the floor and stared at it for a long moment. Then, using a butter knife, he pried it open. Inside was a sterile, white jumpsuit, a small booklet written in a language he didn't recognize, and what looked like a nasal spray. On top of everything was a card with a single line in English, "Prepare for environmental compliance." Frederick picked up the nasal spray. The label was unreadable, but the design was unmistakable. "Squeeze and inhale." He hesitated. "Well, it's not like things can get much weirder," he said, then sprayed it up his nose. It burned like fire. Tears streamed down his face, and he stumbled backward, gasping. After a few minutes, the burning subsided, replaced by a strange clarity. His congestion was gone, his headache easing. He flexed his fingers. His body felt lighter, almost buoyant. The cube chimed once, as if in approval. Night fell, and Frederick sat outside on the porch, wrapped in a blanket, sipping tea. The street was quiet. He kept glancing up at the stars, half expecting to see a ship descending. At some point, he must have dozed off because he woke with a start to a low, humming noise. Hovering over his backyard was a vessel, smaller than he remembered from before. It made no effort to hide itself, bathing the grass in pale blue light. Before he could react, 3 figures materialized in front of him, smaller aliens, each wearing a reflective suit that covered them from head to toe. One of them stepped forward and produced a device shaped like a tuning fork. It waved it slowly up and down Frederick's body. He coughed once in reflex. The aliens took a collective step back. The one with the device made a series of sharp clicks. A moment later, the familiar mechanical voice translated, "Subject Palmer displays residual volatile emissions." Frederick pulled the blanket tighter around him. "It's just a little cough." "You guys are way too jumpy." Another alien, slightly taller, produced what looked like a collapsible frame. In under a minute, they assembled a transparent corridor leading directly from the porch to the hovering vessel. "Walk," the voice instructed. Frederick groaned, got to his feet, and shuffled into the tunnel. The floor was slick and warm under his bare feet, like heated glass. Inside the vessel, the air was crisp and slightly sweet. The walls pulsed gently like the belly of some enormous beast. The silver-robed alien reappeared, this time wearing a dark blue sash across its chest. "Subject Palmer," it said. "Follow." Frederick trudged after it through a series of twisting corridors. The ship was oddly quiet. No rumbling engines. No mechanical clatter. Just the faint, endless hum. They entered a circular chamber where a series of panels floated in midair, displaying streams of data. The alien gestured to a platform in the center. Frederick climbed onto it without argument. As soon as he settled, soft restraints wrapped around his wrists and ankles. He tensed, but the alien raised a hand, and the restraints loosened slightly, more comforting than restrictive. "Final evaluation," the voice said. A bright light enveloped him, and he felt an odd tingling sensation, like static electricity crawling along his skin. He heard a series of low, rhythmic beeps, and then the alien spoke again. "Subject Palmer's immune recalibration stable. Further adaptation required for environmental integration." Frederick squinted at the alien. "Integration into what, exactly?" The alien turned, its robe fluttering slightly. "Human adaptability presents unique variables. Study imperative." Frederick frowned. "You want to study me because I got a cold?" The alien made a sound somewhere between a sigh and a whistle. "Human pathogens exhibit disproportionate impact compared to biological mass. Adaptation mechanisms remain anomalous." Frederick chuckled weakly. "Yeah, we're stubborn little jerks. Get over it." The alien didn't respond immediately. Instead, it tapped a sequence on a floating panel. A holographic image appeared, an Earth map littered with red dots. Historical analysis: human resilience correlates with high mutation rates and environmental malleability. Frederick squinted. "Are you saying we're good at surviving because we're basically genetic chaos?" "Affirmative." He leaned back against the restraints. "Well, that's one way to put it." The alien pressed another panel and a new hologram appeared, this time a series of scenarios depicting humans adapting to extreme conditions: deep-sea diving, mountaineering, desert survival. Frederick blinked. "You guys really went down the rabbit hole, huh?" The alien inclined its head. "Adaptation exceeds modeling predictions." Frederick rubbed his temples. "Look, if you're asking me how humans survive all this, the answer's easy. We don't think about it. We just do it." The alien's gaze lingered on him, unblinking. "Behavioral illogic yields survival efficiency," it said eventually. Frederick barked a laugh. "You're finally getting it. We're not smart about it. We're just too dumb to quit." The platform hummed and the restraints retracted. The alien stepped aside, gesturing toward an archway that blinked with soft yellow light. "Integration protocol optional," it said. Frederick eyed the archway, then looked back at the alien. "What happens if I say no?" "Return to origin. Event memory degradation implemented." Frederick wrinkled his nose. Memory degradation? Like, wiping my brain. Localized amnesia. No permanent impairment. He weighed the options. Go back to normal life with a gap in his memory, or step into some unknown alien program. He squared his shoulders. All right, he said. Let's see where this goes. Without hesitating, he stepped through the archway. There was a moment of vertigo, a brief sensation of falling upward, and then everything went white. Frederick blinked against the white light, his feet stumbling as the ground beneath him solidified into a smooth, springy surface. The air was cooler here, thinner but somehow easier to breathe. As his vision adjusted, he found himself standing in a vast, domed chamber. The walls were covered in flowing patterns that shifted like currents under a frozen lake. Dozens of aliens, some familiar, others entirely new, moved purposefully between stations. A short creature with shimmering green skin and an elaborate harness approached. It wore a translucent visor over its oversized, black-lensed eyes. Frederick noticed it carried a slate brimming with pulsing glyphs. "You are Palmer, Frederick?" it said in a clipped accent. "Yeah," Frederick answered, rubbing the back of his neck. "Still me." The creature gestured for him to follow, its 3 legs moving in a strangely graceful shuffle. Frederick trailed behind, stealing glances at the other beings. A few wore heavy breathing apparatuses. Others floated inches above the floor, their bodies encased in what looked like liquid bubbles. They stopped before a low platform surrounded by what could only be described as a garden rows of plants, some spiraling upward, others creeping along the ground, their leaves iridescent and trembling. The green-skinned alien tapped the slate. "You will undergo final adaptation evaluation through biocompatibility exposure." Frederick raised an eyebrow. Exposure to what? Space cabbage? The flora facilitates atmospheric recalibration. Your respiratory system's response must be measured. Frederick grimaced. So basically, you want to see if I keel over sniffing alien plants? The alien tilted its head, considering. Simplified. Acceptable. Frederick sighed and stepped onto the platform. A low hum vibrated through the soles of his feet. One of the plants unfurled a wide, flat leaf and released a puff of golden mist directly into his face. He coughed once, instinctively stepping back, but no burning, no dizziness followed. If anything, he felt a faint warmth trickle through his chest. Respiratory stability within parameters, the green-skinned alien announced without looking up from the slate. Frederick rubbed his nose. "You could have warned me." Preemptive warning alters authentic physiological response. "Figures," Frederick muttered. Another plant waved lazily toward him, releasing a different spray, this one cool and slightly minty. He resisted the urge to sneeze, breathing carefully through his mouth. After several more exposures, the alien made a satisfied noise deep in its throat and motioned him off the platform. "You were sufficiently stabilized for controlled integration." Frederick stepped down, feeling oddly lighter, like his lungs had been scrubbed clean. "What's that mean? I get a certificate or something?" "You will be assigned a biological liaison for continued observation." Liaison. Frederick's stomach turned slightly. Like a babysitter? A collaborator. Adaptation is a process, not an event. Frederick glanced around the chamber. Most of the creatures were busy tending to the gardens or examining data streams. A few paused to glance at him, their expressions unreadable. "Fine," he said. "Long as you don't expect me to learn how to photosynthesize." The alien's visor flickered briefly. "Unnecessary. Your chlorophyll deficiency is noted." Frederick gave a short laugh, more out of nerves than amusement. Another alien approached, a tall being with segmented blue skin and a series of delicate antennae sprouting from its forehead. It carried a sleek container that side opened to reveal a simple garment, a fitted suit woven from a material that shimmered like oil on water. "Environmental attire," the green-skinned alien said. "Mandatory for facility access." Frederick picked up the suit, feeling its strange coolness in his hands. "You want me to put this on now?" "Correct." With a resigned grunt, Frederick retreated behind a privacy screen. The suit slid onto his body with surprising ease, conforming to his shape without feeling tight. It was oddly comfortable, like wearing a second skin. When he emerged, the blue-skinned alien examined him critically, its antennae twitching. "Acceptable," it said. Frederick spread his arms. "Glad to hear it." The green-skinned alien handed him a small device no bigger than a coin. "Environmental synchronizer. Attached to suit interface." Frederick found a small indentation near his collarbone and pressed the device into place. A soft click confirmed the attachment. Immediately, a gentle hum surrounded him and the air felt even more breathable. "Now what?" he asked. "You will accompany liaison to adaptation habitat." The blue-skinned alien gestured for him to follow. They moved down a corridor that gradually widened into a space resembling a vast indoor park. Artificial sunlight streamed from panels overhead, casting warm, natural light across terrain dotted with small hills, streams, and clusters of alien vegetation. Frederick whistled low under his breath. "You guys built a whole park inside a spaceship?" "Habitat simulation. Essential for acclimation." They walked along a winding path where other beings engaged in various activities, some tending to plants, others observing small, skittering creatures that darted between rocks. After a few minutes, they reached a small clearing centered around a large, luminous tree. Its bark shimmered with a soft violet glow and its roots spread out like thick veins across the ground. The blue-skinned alien motioned for Frederick to sit. He lowered himself onto a smooth, flat stone, feeling the residual warmth from the artificial sun. The alien produced a slender instrument resembling a tuning fork and held it near Frederick's head. It emitted a sequence of gentle tones. Frederick frowned. "What's that supposed to do?" "Tune my brain. Neural resonance calibration. Necessary to minimize psychological discordance." He snorted. "Good luck. I haven't been right in the head since I got married." The alien paused as if analyzing the statement, then resumed the tonal sequence. After several minutes, the device beeped softly and the alien tucked it away. "Calibration complete. Emotional stability within acceptable variance." Frederick raised an eyebrow. "You just ran a mood check on me?" "Emotional flux can destabilize physical adaptation. Monitoring is prudent." He stretched his legs out in front of him. "You guys worry too much. Humans thrive on chaos." The alien considered this. "Noted for future modeling." A soft chime echoed through the clearing and the blue-skinned alien stood. "You will remain here for final observation period." "How long's that?" 6 planetary rotations. Frederick counted quickly in his head. 6 days. Affirmative. He leaned back on his elbows, staring up at the artificial sky. "Guess I've had worse vacations." The alien inclined its head and departed, leaving Frederick alone with the humming tree and the sounds of the simulated wilderness. The first day passed slowly. Frederick explored the habitat, careful not to touch anything that looked like it might bite. He found a small stream and splashed cold, clear water on his face. The suit dried almost instantly, a tiny marvel he found oddly comforting. By the third day, the loneliness began to gnaw at him. The aliens checked in periodically, scanning him with different devices, exchanging clipped notes, but none lingered to talk. He missed conversation, missed the simple, messy chaos of human company. On the 5th day, he sat by the luminous tree, tossing small pebbles into a pool at its base when the green-skinned alien reappeared, visor glinting. "You exhibit consistent physiological stabilization. Behavioral variance minimal." Frederick brushed dirt off his hands. "So what happens now? You guys gonna put me in a zoo?" The alien's mouth twitched a movement Frederick couldn't quite interpret. "You will be repatriated to your origin point." He sat up straighter. "You're sending me home?" "Correct. Full memory retention authorized. Anomalous adaptability warrants unrestricted recollection." Frederick blinked. "You sure about that?" "I could tell everyone. Your species' propensity for disbelief mitigates exposure risk." He laughed aloud, the sound echoing across the clearing. "Yeah. No one's gonna believe I spent a week in an alien biosphere because I sneezed." The alien handed him a small, silver disc. "Token of mutual acknowledgement. Contains environmental harmonization data. Potentially beneficial to your species." Frederick turned the disc over in his hands. It felt warm, vibrating faintly like a heartbeat. "Thanks," he said, slipping it into a pocket on his suit. The green-skinned alien tapped its slate and the ground beneath Frederick shimmered with light. "Prepare for transition." He stood, rolling his shoulders. "Any chance I can keep the suit?" "It's pretty comfortable." "Retention authorized." A soft hum built around him and the habitat blurred into streaks of color. His last sight was the luminous tree, its branches waving like a slow farewell. When Frederick next opened his eyes, he was back on his porch, the morning sun rising over the rooftops. The suit clung to his body, the silver disc heavy in his pocket. He sat there for a long moment, breathing in the smell of dew and distant barbecue smoke. Finally, he stood, stretched, and walked inside, feeling, for the first time in days, entirely, profoundly human.